from there, we start to get into things, what's called geometric solids. So that's where we put these lines together and we start doing things like a square or a triangle or a circle. And this is where you kind of practice what it feels like to orient things in a similar fashion. So repetitively drawing these shapes and trying to make them similar and accurate and fast, because these geometric shapes are what make up the world. You can almost always break things up into a triangle, square, circle, cylinder. From there, we go into building on these solids. So how do we take this and create three-dimensional shape? So we take the square and then we start to add things like that. These are your first exercises, just for getting used to shape and orientation and depth. In a lot of instances, this is something that you can revisit all the time. This is something that even as a professional artist, you can practice these things as a good warm-up, as a quick exercise out in the middle before you do a plein air painting or on an airplane or, you know, whatever it ends up being. These basics are things you can always return to. We're now giving these shapes some sort of depth. We're trying to make these 2D objects 3D and teach us about the space that they actually take up. Which then leads us to the next exercise, which is putting these shapes together. So what can you do with these shapes that end up creating an object? Say we had like a circle, another circle, kind of a square, then builds into a triangle. Just for example, this is something that these shapes, when put together, can make. And then from there, you start to build out. And now using these shapes of, okay, that's, you know, that's a cylinder. These tiny shapes fit together to make a very realistic drawing. You're not supposed to shade this in right now. I'm showing the next level progression so that you know what's to come and just like how important getting those shapes are, because when you add these shadows, you can now see that those shapes start to mean something. Again, I don't expect you to do the shading. We're gonna cover shading specifically in a different section. This is very much the intro. Just get used to your utensils and getting the feel. So to kind of wrap this up, what we talked about some of the very basic initial drawing supplies you're gonna need. As we progress, as more courses come out, I will show you new tools that we're gonna introduce as needed. But let's just start with the basics, nice and simple. You can do it at any point. I can almost promise you everyone has a pencil somewhere in their house if you're watching YouTube. Between these first 3 main exercises, it's a really good start. Do it in a sketchbook, do it on toned paper, do it on loose paper, do it on printer paper. It really doesn't matter. I would hold on to it though, so that you can see as you progress how you get better and things change. Like I said, in future videos, we will go into value and shading and all of this stuff. This is so basic, but also so important because the ability to do this directly translates to drawing proportions later. Get this right, work hard now, and it will just build on itself, and it's a compound effect. Do this for a few days, move on to the next video that comes after, and regardless, every single day I would warm up with just a few exercises like this to get you going.